What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of SCUM. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. That's right, you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop, Bop, Baloo, Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot damn. Feeling good? Of course, looking good. Everybody in the house is looking good. You know how I get it done. Right here, kids. Coming to you, as always, from the Lavender Lounge of Love, where it all goes down. And, of course, joined, as always, by the great Keith Hernandez Puppet, bringing you what I like to call the No Frills Podcast. And, of course, you get no frills because you get plenty of thrills. And that's much better than frills. And what are the thrills, Rex, you might ask? Well, that's getting to look at the face of a bona fide rock star. Plus, we don't know how to give you frills because the technological know-how over here in the PodScum camp, right in the toilet, kids. It's lo-fi, it's crude, it's all that stuff. We dive in and we get down to the meat and potatoes. And I think that's what you guys all appreciate and love and have come to expect from the PodScum brand. Speaking of the PodScum brand, please like and subscribe. And more importantly, remember to check us out on Facebook. Keep up with us over there. And, of course, enjoy my lo-fi, low-rent little podcast. But what it lacks in technological bells and whistles and hoopla, it makes up for in kick-ass legendary guests. And today, it's going to be no different. We got ourselves a real good one right here, man. And, of course, waiting for him to join here. So while we wait, let me remind you that there is a little glam metal sleaze band out there called Love Sword, of which yours truly is the frontman. The second greatest frontman, if you will, to ever do this rock and roll thing. The bad news is you can't be the frontman in Love Sword. The good news is you can be in Love Sword and be the band behind the man. I am looking for serious virtuoso level players. And the inquiries, they also must be serious. You know, the rock and roll business is a cruel, thankless game. It's not for the faint of heart. And believe me, being the band behind a frontman of my caliber is no easy task, kids. It's just not. So please make sure that you have the chops as I look up, see if my guest is on his way here. Of course, this is another reason why it's the No Frills Podcast. I don't do anything the easy way. Obviously, you see me inviting my guest here. It's crude. It's all those things that we don't want out of a podcast. There's no polish. The mustard is off the hot dog, so to speak. But it is what it is. When you're 50 years old and bringing you a podcast and simultaneously juggling all the duties that come with being the hardest working man in show business, hey, somewhere the work has to suffer. I have a day job, that can't suffer. I have a family, that can't suffer. I have this hair to maintain, that can't suffer. All of which are in their own way full-time jobs, which is why I can't hide or disguise anything here when I'm doing this podcast. I am what you would call, and I've said this in other episodes, the antithesis of the motley crew of podcasting. There are no smoke and mirror tricks here. There are no backing tracks. You know, my guest is having some technical difficulties, so I am sending him the link here, and we will see if we can get him in here. You know, hey, it's the world of podcasting. It's never going to be perfect. So while we wait here, at the time of this recording, I believe we are 130 plus episodes up on the YouTube channel. And I encourage people, of course, please to go back and peruse past episodes. A lot of great shit there to unearth. Super talented guests that I've had the privilege to get the chance to talk to. And of course, let me take this time while waiting for our guests to come in here to thank all the people that have come on here. Of course, couldn't do this without them. And of course, you guys for watching and subscribing. Also, at the time of this recording, we are 270 some odd subscribers, and which is pretty incredible considering we've been at it for under a year. And of course, Keith Hernandez back there, one of, if not the greatest first baseman of all time, would also like to extend his thanks because, the closer we get to 400 subscribers, which is the magic number to see any kind of monetization. And of course, Keith could always use a little bit of extra pin money for, his various cocaine expenses. Cocaine is not a cheap drug, kids. And I'm certainly not advocating for the use of cocaine. This will be my public service announcement to stay away from the coke, kids. Stick with the weed. And our guest is here right now. So on that note, we will get down to it and chop it up with him on PodScum. I'm excited about this one. Hey, how you doing, bud?
Hey, man. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this, man. Technology being what it will, I mean, it doesn't always make it easy for us.
Yeah, Zoom is always easier.
Yeah. Steve SMYTH, of course, from numerous bands I think people would know you from, but now the big news on the heavy metal forefront, the resurgence of Forbidden.
Yeah, we are. It's I guess you could call it a rebirth, not a reunion. And we've got a bit of new blood in the band. In two guys, Chris Contos on drums, who's a total legend,
Mm-hmm.
and this killer vocalist called Norman Skinner, who we've known about Norman for years here in the Bay Area.
I've had him on. Great guy.
Yeah, great guy, great singer, and everything is going really, really well. We've kicked off rehearsals about a month and a half ago, and just got everything going, and it's going well, definitely.
And because a lot of people, certainly, that band is very synonymous with Russ and, of course, Craig. When you guys get together now to do new music, and I don't know if you've started a writing process or creating any new music, but what do you anticipate, if you haven't, what the creative process will be like? Does it seem like it's going to be a collaborative effort, where you guys are all going to be involved, or is somebody bringing the lion's share of the ideas in? Like, what's that process going to be like?
Yeah, well, as we did for Omega Wave, I brought in riffs, songs, etc., that kind of thing. As far as the lyric department goes, that's more Craig's handling. Always has been, always will be. He's kind of the he's the guy that basically shapes and molds the Forbidden sound. So everything kind of goes to Craig, and then he'll put it together. And I don't think he's disappointed yet.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. He has not. No. He's, so certainly those Forbidden albums, while you guys, have been away for a long time, those albums, I think, certainly remain seminal albums in the thrash metal scene. I mean, no question. I mean, they
Yeah,
certainly stand the test of time.
definitely. Yeah, and we're on the 35-year kind of anniversary of Forbidden Evil.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a ton of fun to get out there and play those songs live.
Come on, Steve. You had to bring that up and remind us all how old we are, really. I mean, 35 years, Jesus.
Oh, no, I know. Believe me, I know. Definitely.
I have to ask, and I know it's been a long time, but the nurse in me, and that is my day job, has to ask, how is your health? You had a kidney transplant back in 2006, correct?
Yes, yeah, I did. We're going on just 16 years past. So now we're into half of this year already.
Yeah.
Health is good. Everything is functioning well, et cetera, et cetera. I recently had a couple of issues with skin cancer that had cropped up. They kind of became a lot. I think for everybody too, this kind of happened. But during lockdown, there's things that you kind of discover about yourself and go, hey, wait a minute, maybe that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So I've recently had a few things taken care of there, kind of on my nose here and such, and been given the all clear. So thanks for that. Other than that, everything's been really good. I've just been kind of keeping check on the lifestyle and making changes that needed to be changed along the way. And still here.
Now you had a run with, and we're glad you're still here. Thank God for that. So Testament, you had a little run with Testament. Bummed out that you never got to get on the studio album with them. I've read different things like where you really wish you could have laid down an album with those guys.
We actually we started kind of riff writing things like that over like the last few years of my time with the band. So some of those things made it onto Formation of Damnation.
Okay.
At that very first record there, and I'm not saying that I wrote any of it by any means. It was Eric's riffs, things that kind of started. I did contribute some stuff. I don't really know that they actually used those at all. I don't think so. But myself and Paul Bostaff, I remember us jamming in a room a couple of times, just working out some different riffs, things like that. That's stuff that made it onto the Forbidden record, Omega Wave. A couple of those riffs made it on there, and later on, One Machine. I kind of took a few of those riffs from jamming back then, and said, "Well, hey, nobody else wants them. They're going on this because they're good not to use." So turned them into full-fledged songs and got them on those One Machine records that we've done. So.
And when you are going to write stuff, like whether it's, songs, riffs, anything like that of that nature, when you're going to create, like what is your own creative process like? Like we talked about the bands, but you specifically, like wherein you get a lot of guys who just spontaneously get sparks of creativity throughout the day. And I get a lot of guys on here who say they're jotting down stuff or they're humming riffs into their thing. Are you a guy that gets creativity that way? Or are you a guy who's, I'm also amazed by these guys who come on here and say, that they're disciplined and they go in and they say, from like noon to 5, I'm going in and I'm writing music. Like what's it like for you personally?
Right. It really truthfully happens all kinds of ways. And over the years, that the last thing that you said, I could definitely relate to that. I've had periods where I kind of just had block. I just didn't feel the inspiration, didn't really feel it, so that's one thing. I mean, it's got to come from, for me, it's coming from the heart, not from the head. So, obviously I'm hearing something, I'm feeling something, I want to get that out, and, inspiration will strike in the form of a riff, of a melody, of a word, definitely emotions, can bring that stuff about, and it could be anything, really, but, I think kind of everything, as a songwriter or riff writer or, whatever you want to call it, a lick writer, any of those types of things are going to come from seemingly, like, probably to anyone else who doesn't create, the oddest of places, but you just kind of take inspiration when it strikes, and turning it into something is the next step from there. I catalog a lot of stuff. I do. I'll definitely put it on the phone. I've got always got a setup somewhere where I can easily just turn something on and boom, go and play. Usually it's the phone. If the phone is closest, I'll just throw it in front of an amp or put it next to the guitar. Or into something, things like that. I'll definitely do, so I can actually get get that stuff laid down in the way that I actually heard it. I tend to, it's weird, I tend to not use video. I'll use audio more. I know plenty of people that use video too, so they can remember exactly where they played it. That kind of thing, or if it's there's an expression that that's on their face or something, to kind of get that across. There's all kinds of things I've heard and seen, and for me, I've got my specific things, but I'm always looking to do different and new things with it as well. So,
as a creative type, what was COVID like for you? Going back a couple of years when everything was hunkered down and the plug got pulled on so much stuff. How did that affect, like, where you were and what your plans were? Either personal or career wise, around that time. What was the effect it had on you?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where there were periods of creativity that I definitely had. There was kind of dark inspiration in world events, what was going on there. At home, on the personal front, something that really kind of stopped me in my tracks. My wife was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh, goodness.
And we, for us, we kind of looked at the lockdown and isolation as a blessing. Because she had to undergo treatment, and to not, have anyone around. That's kind of what you have to do if you're under chemotherapy. We chose a different route. She wanted to do immunotherapy, and it was a choice that she felt strongly about. We've lost a lot of people to the side effects of chemo, not to the actual cancer itself. And that was a big reason behind that decision. So for us, it was still the isolation. We were advised, don't have people around.
Sure.
And plus, the general rules of the pandemic were that you weren't supposed to have people around anyway. So we kept that very, very limited. Just one family member was around us most of the time. And there's a lot that I'm actually just kind of now able to reflect on and come back to and look for probably what's going to be inspiration from that for songwriting. There's a lot of stuff there, a lot of heavy emotional shit, man.
No doubt.
For any other way of saying it. And I'm still going through it. It's not like anything else is going to take that away by any means. It's happened, and I've got to live with it, and I've got to keep going. And I know personally, this sounds probably really strange to anyone that doesn't believe in this kind of stuff, but I believe that this kind of thing came about, at least that phone call from Craig to me came about through her.
Things happen for a reason, no doubt.
It's really strange because back in 2008, this is a really weird one, but we were talking about, she and I were talking about just like concerts, things like that, and we actually met through her brother, who was a rock journalist over there in the UK. And we hit it off. We were friends for like 5 years before we even got together. Though I always had tried to get together with her, but she was like, So, finally that happened, and it was through my association with Testament that I actually met her in the first place. And she didn't want to be around a musician or be with a musician at all, anything like that. So it took some convincing over time. But basically, we were talking about shows and things like that, and people that we knew. And she put up these pictures on her piano, and it was her and her brother with the guys in Forbidden. And also the guys in Death Angel from like way back 1990 when they were on tour together. I think Death Angel was on the Act 3 tour. Forbidden was on the Twisted into Form record and tour. And so she had those pictures up, and we just kind of left them there. The very next day, I think it was, I got a call from I think it was from Craig and Matt collectively saying, "Hey, things aren't kind of working out with Glenn, and would you be interested in coming and checking this out?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but you guys know I live in England, right?" And they're like, "Oh no, we didn't know that," but we kind of worked everything out to be able to do it. So that was kind of how it started the first time. And none of us had anything in mind for a reunion, getting back together. And I mean, we're all friends. We talk all the time, and this was not on anyone's radar whatsoever. There was a little bit of a spark of like, this could be cool, kind of thing when we were doing this Bay Area interthrashional thing. Norman was one of the singers, and we were rehearsing people, and it happened to be the four of us in a room. It was myself, Mark, Hernandez, Craig, and Matt, and Norman. And we're like, "Well, do you want to run through like Forbidden Evil or something?" Because it was one of the songs he was going to sing. And so we fire it up, and it doesn't really take much, because it's there. We rehearsed that song, played it on tour, for years. So for all of us, we're just like, okay, cool. He starts singing, and I look at Matt looks at me like, whoa. And we look over at Mark's like,
lightning in a bottle.
We all look at Craig, and Craig kind of like looks up from his guitar. He's looking at us like, look at him, he's all it just goes back to jamming. So we were like, we talked about it afterwards, like, wow, dude, he did really good. I think the spark was kind of there. And
of course that performance is, for people that want to see it, is up on YouTube. And he did absolutely fucking crush it too. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
total powerhouse, man. He's a great vocalist.
So that was kind of like his audition, you would say. Is that kind of when the wheels really started? Is that really when the wheels started getting going? I mean, that's kind of like his impromptu audition.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it just kind of happened that way, and that's just what came about. From there. So all those months passed by, and all of a sudden I get this call, and he's like, "Hey, dude, here's what we're looking at, what we're thinking." I'm like, yes. let's do it, definitely. So
well, and obviously Russ Russ Anderson being such a big part of that band, and obviously when a voice becomes synonymous with a band, sometimes there is pushback from those purists and those fans. Talk to me a little bit about like what is the dynamic that you see that Norman brings that maybe might be different from what Russ could do.
Sure. First of all, Russ, is a huge legacy. For Forbidden, absolutely. And he's got a one of a kind voice, and he's just to me one of the greatest singers I think I've ever worked with. Just so much fire and everything else about his voice was just natural, killer, awesome. And he just honestly he's had some life changes, and just it's not in him to do this anymore. And he kind of told us years ago, I'm not really up for the rigors of touring anymore, and just kind of want to kind of calm down for a bit and really check this for a bit and kind of get my health together, things like that. So that's what I know he's done. First of all, so for Russ, that was kind of a thing that we all knew going forward. So that was my first question to Craig anyway on that phone call. I'm like, so Russ is into this? And he's all, no, here's what we're thinking. And I'm like, oh, okay. I immediately flash back to that rehearsal and think about that. I'm like, okay, yeah, this could definitely work, man, because all of us had that look of like, holy,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going on here, kind of thing. So with Norman, he's got that capability. If you've heard anything he's done outside of that, Magica, I'm going way back to Magica for where I kind of first heard him. The stuff he did with those guys was great. It was amazing. He's got that Halford fire about him. He can definitely thrash it up with anybody, for sure. He's got a very distinctive voice himself. And in terms of what he's been able to do, he does every single one of Russ's songs justice, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then some. He's able to put his own kind of stamp on this stuff as well. And I think going forward in terms of songwriting, it's going to be really cool, very interesting. I think we'll be able to get a few possibly different angles to things.
Yeah.
In the Sound of Forbidden in there in the process.
And then what about playing? And then what about, fast forwarding a little bit? And of course, obviously, all this stuff is, on down the road. But, when you guys, put out new music or any kind of tour cycle does start, with obviously the narrative changes in people's lives and the priorities change, what kind of itinerary, do you guys as a band, have you had the discussion about like, how long you guys want to go out on tour at this stage of your lives? How's the dynamic in that change?
If I think I understand that correctly, it's basically we're kind of being a bit selective about things that we're doing at the moment, because we want to be able to do this without really kind of losing anything.
Right.
The process going out, and that's a very important thing to us. I think is being able to. It's hard, man. I mean, there's the economy has really kind of as a result of COVID, kind of spilled on to where we are now in 2023 with everything getting greatly affected. Cost of everything's up. It's very expensive to tour.
Yeah.
We've definitely been offered quite a few things already, so we're kind of taking those offers on board, and looking at what logistically can be done, and taking it from there, pretty much.
And given the fact that you guys want to write and put out new music, and of course, you guys are certainly synonymous with that old school Bay Area thrash scene. When you put out any music, because the listening trends and habits of people have changed, and even the way artists put out music, do you guys have you discussed like what the project would intend? Like, a lot of bands are putting out singles and keeping themselves out there and staying relevant. There's groups doing EPs. There's still old school bands doing LPs. Have you guys given any thought to that?
I think it's definitely going to be more the album aspect. I mean, it's there's a band that has an album legacy behind it. What are we on? 5, 6 records. From memory, and that's the thing that definitely has to be continued. So singles released from the album, that kind of thing, and getting out there and pushing it forward. I think will be ultimately how we do this whole thing going forward. So record and a tour cycle. But as far as how we're going to do it, obviously digital has been there for quite a while. I personally still feel like Forbidden's got a fan base that still buys physical product, though. So in terms of records, actual vinyl, I don't know about cassettes, but maybe.
Wow, we're really dating ourselves talking about cassettes.
Right. CD digipacks. I mean, everybody seems like still buys those. Especially for collectors, if you want to get them signed, that kind of thing. I mean, I see a lot of people do that all the time. Myself, I still buy those for collection. It's like a mini album. definitely. And vinyl, I will still buy myself. I'm pretty selective about what I buy because I want the artwork.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah.
That's why I'm getting that
Y-
slab of vinyl in the first place. But
Yeah.
that's it's a big part of it. But streaming is convenient. I can take my phone and I can put it in my car and I can drive around and listen to stuff that's not on the radio. It's stuff that I want to hear. Things like that. So that's very convenient.
Yeah.
Uh, that aspect. So there is that as well too. But I think what I've seen a lot of, and it's on different budget scales and things like that. But people are putting videos together with every single song release. From like your bigger rock acts to full on black metal bands.
Yeah.
And I think even it might be a bit far to reach. Depends on the quality, but if you can at least get like an album worth of videos behind something, to perhaps explain a concept or the kind of meaning from the writer, or from the band behind what that song actually means. That also is helpful, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
You also see a lot of lyric videos out there as well too, and
Yeah. I agree.
especially with the words following and all that kind of stuff. It leaves things open ended, so the imagination can still kind of be there and be used to kind of get your own meaning out of someone else's words or someone else's tune. So I like that too. So I don't know. I think we're probably going to be cooking up some things like that, probably discussing that a little bit more in detail. It's something I'd like to see the band do, definitely.
And what's your theory behind and of course this would just be strictly your own theory, but why such a great scene of thrash in the Bay Area specifically? I've had guys on here, obviously there's a great death metal scene in Florida. I've also had guys on here from Sweden, which also produces great death metal. How do you churn this great music out? Is it just the goddamn heat that makes everybody able to churn out this fucking angry music? What is it about the Bay Area that makes it so special? Obviously, iconic band after iconic thrash band out of that area. I mean, I'm here in upstate New York, so I know something about the weather making us fucking angry. I mean, we got 8 months of winter here, so I mean, I'm surprised there's not more metal coming out of New York, but we've got our share here. But why such an iconic scene? Why such an iconic Bay Area scene?
It's the fog.
Is it the fog? Is it okay? There you go. That's the first. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that. The fog. That's a different. The fog. Okay.
There you go. No, I don't know, man. I mean, it's one of those things that just kind of it was born here, I guess, and a lot of those folks are still here, still around, still doing it, still kicking ass. Testament's still going. Exodus is still going. Violence, has made a comeback.
Yeah.
I think still going. My God, Heathen, David White's still kicking that band
amazing.
Yeah, and Lee's still there. Man, it's pretty cool, definitely.
Never mind coming out to California to see those fucking tar pits. I want to come out and see where that goddamn fountain of youth is, man. You guys must have it out there. I mean, these guys aren't getting old. I went to see the Bay Area Strikes Back tour last year. And for God's sake, man, you mentioned those bands, Testament, Exodus, Death Angel were on that bill, and they are literally, fucking playing guys half their age under the table. It's incredible.
Yeah, they're kicking absolute ass, man. Definitely, every single night. I mean, I wasn't able to make that tour to go see it, but I've seen the video and definitely it's they're still doing it. They've still got that fire.
And nothing keeps these guys down either. I mean, Chuck Billy's been through his own health issues. Obviously, Sean Killian from Violence been through some serious health issues, man. And then these guys come back and they're fucking stronger than ever. It's insane. What's in the water out there?
I don't know, man.
Well, bottle some up and send it out out to our coast. We need some.
Right.
Please.
There you go.
I want to ask you about teaching, because if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if you're still involved in this, but the London Institute of Contemporary Music, you were teaching for a while. Is that something you're still involved in?
Right. As far as my teaching career over there, I did close to 10 years. I was in three different places. I taught at a place called BIM, which was at the time it was the British Institute of Modern Music. I think they've changed the name since then. And that was located in Brighton, England. I did about let's say nearly 4 years there. And that was kind of like an internship, like a paid internship.
Right.
I got a teaching degree there. I was able to get like a postmaster's in music education as well. So I had been able to parlay that into kind of a career that went
Yeah.
on for another 6 7 years after that. That experience there, which was absolutely great. I met a lot of people. A lot of us over there, kind of went from place to place, or maybe had like two of these places that they would actually do.
Yeah.
And it was, through that kind of thing, I went over to the Institute of Contemporary Music and Performance in London. Did a handful of years there. I was there for about 4 years, and then I went over to another place called the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford, which was actually some ex BIM people had actually started that place way back. It was like the very first, one of the very first music institutions established in the UK. And the guy that actually had founded that left, formed BIM, sold BIM off, went back to ACM, and called me up and asked me if I'd be interested in coming and checking it out. I said, yeah, definitely. Because he's a great guy. Learned a lot from him, and just went over there and had a great time. The Brexit thing kind of changed my wife and my mind about staying there. So we decided, let's get out before things get a little chaotic, and
Yeah.
we're all kind of seeing what's happening now
Yeah.
over with everything. Despite that, I think the educational sector is still doing really well over there. I taught a lot of different things. It wasn't just like guitar. There's a lot of aspects to music, performance, theory, music theory, production, pre-production. Did a lot of teaching behind things like that. So just like all aspects of being a performing musician, or being a teacher, a music teacher, if someone had aspirations to do that, I could help develop them for that. Recording or performance career, that was something that every one of those classes helped to do. And I still keep in touch with a handful of those people as well too. A handful of the students that were there are friends of mine. And I'm very grateful for that experience of just not only being able to teach that many people, but also at that level. It was university level, basically up through year three, bachelor's, and I didn't handle any of the master's degree folks, but occasionally was up to year three, bachelor's, but mostly I handled first and second year.
And what's
Uh,
the impetus? What's the impetus for teaching? Because usually that's something people really have a calling or a passion for.
yeah, yeah.
Where does that stem from? Did you have parents that were teachers? How'd you catch the bug for doing the teaching thing?
Interestingly, it was when I began learning from my teacher, my guitar teacher. That's what inspired me. He inspired me.
Yeah.
Charlie Miller is his name, and Charlie, I owe you a phone call. Because we actually lost touch for a number of years, and then I ran into a mutual friend of mine, was a student of his as well. In my hometown, we got to talking. He's like, "Yeah, I talk to Charlie all the time." I'm like, "Oh man, what's his phone number?" So kind of meant to. It was something I meant to do, and I owe you a call, dude. But he was very inspirational. He knew a lot about different styles, different genres of music, and it in turn inspired me to learn as much as I possibly could. And with that, I started teaching people practically like out the gate of learning myself, and it was a way to reinforce what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it kind of started, and I just took it as far as I could.
Yeah. And now you've been doing this a long
Miller.
time, man. You have obviously been playing guitar for a long time. So I don't want to ask you like the dreaded influence question that you've probably been asked a million times. But as far as guitar players go, who are some guys who you love to listen to? Like when they play, you stop and you admire what it is that they do. Do you have some favorite players?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's the people that kind of got me hooked in the first place. Angus Young definitely was a huge one. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford from Aerosmith, both those guys. So that music. If there's like an old school tune that comes on, Bon Scott era, or especially Brian Johnson era for me, since I was a kid and Back in Black came out right when I picked up guitar. It's like that was I learned that whole record by ear, and then was shown, kind of the more correct way to play some of the things. But I eared it out first, and the same with a lot of the Aerosmith stuff, the '70s catalog, all that stuff. So any of that stuff is makes my ears perk up, and I'll listen. Even what Joe Perry's putting out these days, I'll still give it a listen. The latest AC/DC I thought was one of their best.
Yeah.
But it kind of started there, and it quickly grew into a lot of different bands, different influences. Sabbath, Tony Iommi, Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, J.K. Lee. Both of those guys were huge influences on me.
Yeah.
Loudness, Akira Takasaki. Before that, slightly before that, Yngwie Malmsteen. Buddy of mine, we were walking home from school one day. He had his boombox, and he's all, check this out. I recorded this last night at some pirate radio station. And it was this guy flipping out, and he's playing what was actually Yngwie's solo on the Steeler record.
Yeah.
And he's all, dude, can you play this? I'm like, not yet, but I'm going to try. So the second I heard that, I was like, holy shit, dude, who is this guy? So I got to know his stuff real quick, jumped in on that, and just, got really influenced by neoclassical music and just classical music in general. I went to my guitar teacher and asked him, show me everything and he built me from the ground up on that. So that was huge influence on me for a number of years. The Shrapnel people came along, around that time as well too. So Paul Gilbert, Marty Friedman, Jason Becker, Greg Howe, that lot, definitely were huge in the mid to late '80s for me. By that time, I had formed a band, and all the guys in the band were like huge Racer X fans. We were, trying to cop those licks and like play some of those songs like Scare. Yeah. All that quite poorly, but we tried. So.
Is it hard nowadays? Like and of course you've been in the industry for quite a while now. I don't know if this happens to you, specifically, but if a young artist does come up to you, and today here in 2023 and asks, gee, like, what do I got to do to propel my band forward, to catapult my band forward? With how much the industry has changed, what do you tell them? I mean, I do still see bands still use YouTube as a forum to put up videos. Obviously, our listening habits have changed with the platforms and how music is being, released, but there is still that platform. They're still getting on tours. Obviously, it seems like you really got to be out on the road a lot nowadays. But what, if you had to point a band in a direction, where do you tell them that they should really be putting the most emphasis? What's the important part of, for lack of a better word, making it nowadays, or pushing your band forward?
Yeah, definitely. Handful of things I could think of right off the bat. I mean, number one, write songs and write a lot. Probably the most important thing is getting out and network, get to know everybody. Try to get as many gigs as you can, but don't saturate your local area. That's the main thing. Try to push out a little bit. The internet is great because it's kind of opened up a lot of. You can find more like-minded people in a lot of different places than just your local area. So that's kind of cool. And I've seen people in bands kind of be able to do a network of like touring, on small levels.
Sure.
do like the entire Pacific Northwest coast. So you go from California all the way up to Washington, through Oregon, and tour, do things like that. Just get like a multi-state kind of thing going on, and get out there to the people, get your music out there, network a lot, and if you really feel strongly about what it is that you're doing, don't give a shit about what anybody else says about your band either. Take on constructive criticism, but if you're sure that you got a good thing going, you got to do that, because that's what you believe in. Why confirm what someone else thinks you should be? You should do what you do.
In your travels out there, does it seem like, thrash and or extreme metal is in good hands? Are you seeing good young bands coming up that are going to kind of take that baton and carry the torch?
I think there's definitely always bands like that are kind of doing that. I've been a little bit out of the scene recently. I've seen a lot of good things from a band, a handful of bands around here. There's Hellfire. There's another band called Frolic, who are both kind of getting a lot of notice lately. Patriot,
Metro's boys,
they're coming up. Definitely, they've always been a solid band, for sure. So those are three bands I can think of right offhand. That definitely just like made me go, whoa, okay. Cool.
That's a lot of pressure, right? If Zetro's your dad, your thrash band can't suck. I mean, it just can't. I mean, that's a high bar he set there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So there's got to be a quality aspect.
And now I can't let you off the hook without hitting you with this one. And this usually winds up being the most polarizing question of the interview. But I'm dropping Steve SMYTH on the desert island, and he can only take that one fucking album. Do you got that album in mind?
Oh God.
And no free pass with this compilation or greatest hit stuff. I mean a real album here. I just got caught with the loophole on one of my last episodes where and I had to instill a new rule now. Also no soundtracks, because the guy got me on a loophole of my own rule. He took the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Oh wow. Okay.
Fool me once, I mean, hey, he got me, but I had to let him take it. I mean,
yeah, like album. I think for me it would have to be, this is gonna be really dating, but Back in Black, AC/DC. I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Fair enough. Yeah, you can never knock a classic. You can't, I mean.
Yeah. No, I would never tire of that record, I don't think either. So that would definitely be the one.
Yeah. Good answer though. A very good answer. And more importantly, extra points for not having to drone on and deliberate about it. A pretty you were pretty definitive about it. You only needed a couple minutes. I always think that's a tougher decision, because a lot of guys are on here like saying, and I get why it's a tough decision. I myself have said it's a tough decision, because when I think of myself on a desert island, I think about that whole gamut of emotions. Do I want to listen to something heavy all the time? Do I want to listen to something very wimpy all the time? You kind of need a happy medium there,
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I mean, there's a ton of records I probably could have chosen a little bit differently, but it really depends. I mean, if that's like the only thing I've got left, that's probably what I'm going to go to.
Ultimately, the somber thought is, if nobody comes along to rescue you, this is the soundtrack to your own fucking demise. I mean, but that's not a very pretty thought. But if you want to die in Back in Black, I mean, hey, who am I?
Why not? Exactly.
There's certainly worse music that could be playing while you're dying. I mean,
yeah. There you go.
Hey, Steve, I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this, man. It's really been a pleasure getting to talk to you, man. I'm really looking forward to anything new that Forbidden's going to be doing, man. Very excited. This is certainly setting a nice buzz going forward in the music world. It's very exciting to have Forbidden back, because it was short-lived in the beginning, and it did leave the fans wanting a lot more. So I'm glad we're getting that now, and I'm glad that and I've had, like I said, I've had Norman on here. He seems like a fantastic guy, and certainly got the chops to pull the gig off. So I mean, I'm glad for you guys. I'm glad you guys are back.
Awesome, great to be back.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking the time, man. And
thanks for having me.
suffering through all of our technological difficulties here. I'm 50 years old too, so don't feel bad. I barely know how to get to this point right here and do this fucking podcast. I mean, I'm very limited here. I'm handcuffed over here. But I'm one of those guys who hides his deficiencies in plain sight. I tell people right off the bat that this is the No Frills podcast. I don't know how to put any animation. I don't know how to do a theme song. I don't know how to put any cute glitzy shit bouncing across the screen. I get on here, I do my little preamble, and then right into the interviews,
That's awesome, man. Definitely.
That's all I can do. Yeah, I'm very lo-fi.
That's rock and roll.
That's rock and roll. Thank you. I'm glad I've got I'm glad I've got an endorsement from a guy like you who will say that it's okay to be, lo-fi can be still rock and roll.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I appreciate it so much, Steve. And please keep in contact, and hopefully we can do this again sometime on down the road. I would love to.
For sure. Me too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks so much, Steve. Yeah, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
Later.
Bye-bye. Bye.
There he goes, folks. That is Steve SMYTH. You might know him from Testament. You should know him from Forbidden. Forbidden, who is now back. And also a guy who didn't deliberate too much on his Desert Island pick. Back in Black is a good one. So kudos to Steve SMYTH. I did enact the Rafferty rule at the time of this recording. I probably haven't put the episode up yet, but Marcus Rafferty, guitarist for Mudvayne, did get me on the loophole of picking a soundtrack. So I'm glad I threw that caveat in there. Not that I thought Steve SMYTH was going to go soundtrack, but just to head off any bullshit. But he went Back in Black, a fucking stone cold classic, from a guy who's also a stone cold classic in the fucking scene. Forbidden, a classic thrash band. So glad to have them back. Been talking with Steve on and off about doing this interview. Fantastic guy. Glad we finally got the chance to do it. Technical difficulties aside, we had some connection issues, blah, blah, blah. But long story short, we made it fucking happen. He made it fucking happen. That is Steve SMYTH, guitar, guitar god? I guess he's up in that pantheon of guitar fucking gods. But of course, man, he is going to be doing his thing in fucking Forbidden. The boys are fucking back. It's exciting. There's a buzz going around the metal world. Always great to have not only a thrash band, a thrash band, reemerge onto the scene, but especially one that really left us wanting more. Those first, Twisted in the Form, Forbidden Evil, those first fucking albums by Forbidden, such seminal albums. Everything they've done has been seminal, classic fucking thrash. The bar is always set high. Please give them a chance. You purists out there might say, no Russ Anderson, I'm done. No. I've had Norman Skinner, the new vocalist, on here. Go check out him fucking throwing down on YouTube. You heard him talk about the for lack of a better word, impromptu audition where he did Forbidden Evil at the Thrash International thing that they had there, and fucking killed it. The footage is out there, so certainly don't judge without going to see the actual article. Go check out the the footage and certainly give them a fucking chance. I think people are going to be fucking blown away. And that's with the utmost respect to Russ Anderson, a thrash metal fucking legend, a one-of-a-kind voice. But, the boys are soldiering on, man, and we couldn't be fucking happier in the metal community. And thank you so much to Steve SMYTH for joining us. That was a great fucking conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And until we get together and do this thing again, because I am starting to drone here on and on. And fucking Keith is... you guys might not be able to hear him because the microphone drowns out. It's a noise reduction thing, but if Keith has a line of cocaine waiting for him. So we got to wrap this thing up. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And until we get together and we do this thing again, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.